And them
and then you
chops.
throw. So if you go back and watch that match, because a lot of that match, like we originally, and I don't even know if this has been told. Originally, we were supposed to wrestle Jay Briscoe and Samoa Joe at Final Battle '05
Oh,
and drop the titles to them.
interesting.
But I think something to do with Jay's TNA contract prevented that. It was either Jay or Joe's or a combination. I don't remember why, but I know there was a giant pivot uh where it went from Jay and Joe to Roddy and Austin. Uh but the day of that show, uh there was a lot of stuff that we kind of just put together the end of the match, and then everything else we were just like, let's feel it, right? Because again, I'm working with this chemistry with Mama Luke where I don't know what we've got. I know there's something there. I know we've got this weird dynamic, but I haven't put in my brain how to harness it to make it work for the story of the match. So if you go back and watch this match, there's about 842 chops thrown at me. Roddy just doesn't stop to the point where I mean, I'm blistered, really, 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 really bad. Uh,
I'm
I mean,
guessing that
I'm
you're glad you didn't do the face chop with Roddy.
yes, no, that would not be. That's never no, no, thank you. Uh, no, that would have broken my nose. But I mean, it's to the point where like a couple days later, I go to my tanning bed, and the girl behind the desk who I'd gotten to know over time, but she didn't know what I did, right? And so I'm explaining to her like, "Hey, is there anything I can do about my chest? It's kind of beat up." And this poor girl, just because, sometimes I forget not everybody lives in
Oh,
a pro wrestling bubble.
yeah.
And she's like, well, what do you mean it's beat up? And I was like, well, do you mind if I show you? And she's like, sure. So I lift up my shirt and she's like, what in the name of God do you do? Like, and I'm like,
That's a
oh
fair
God.
question.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Like, that's not something you spring on a person. I'm sorry. Let me let
Let me
me
explain,
let me
please.
yes, let me explain all these weird bruised handprints and like, okay. No, I'm not a weird sex slave. I'm
Do
a
you ever think, though, that if you explained it, sometimes I think they might think you're even more crazy? Like,
oh
maybe
yes,
the sex slave
100.
story would have been
Yes,
better.
yes, no, I'm 100%. I'm pretty sure there's been times the words have come out of my mouth and just like, oh, this poor soul, he's an idiot.
I let this guy chop me for 70 times in front of a
Yes,
1,000 people.
yes, no, right. Ronnie put his hand through my chest and into my spine more times than I care to count. But yeah, if you go back and watch it, I mean, it's chop, 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 chop. I mean, I eat all sorts of chops to the point where Aries comes in, and Aries has got good chops too. And Aries gives me one, and he's just like, I don't even know why I'm doing it at this point. There's
Hey, at least he had that mind for it, though.
yes, yeah. I was like, yeah. I mean, I stopped breathing about four chops ago, so